Okay, so hi everyone. So this is our first interview in English here on the page and also on the channel. So for this first interview in English, we have a very special guest here with us. So with us, we have Corey Marshall, the voice of Ryo Hazuki from Shenmue. So Corey, first of all, thank you so much for accepting doing this interview with us. I think for us that are Shenmue lovers, this is really a great opportunity to learn more about Shenmue and also about yourself. I grew up like hearing your voice on the game, so for me to be here talking to you, it's a really great honor.
Oh, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate. I'm the first English, I guess, interview you're having for the channel. Is that what's going on?
Yes, so we had a lot of interviews with people that work like on the Brazilian industry, and our page is focused on the Dreamcast. But when we talk about the Dreamcast, the first game that comes to mind is Shenmue. So,
Okay. Well, hey, I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
so Corey, before we talk about Shenmue, I'd like to know more, like a little bit about you. Like where are you from and how did you start your career?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. So I was born in the United States in the great state of Texas. And yeah, I was born and raised in Texas. I lived there all the way up and through high school. And then I moved to New York. I actually went to college out there in New York, and I lived there for about 6 years. And then in 2005, I moved to Los Angeles. So I've been living in Los Angeles, gosh, for a while now. And that's where I met my wife, got married, have my kid, and yep, that's where I currently reside. So gosh, I've been, I've been in the entertainment world for a long time. Probably, gosh, I started working in the entertainment industry, I guess, when I was about 10, I guess. That's just a guess.
Whoa.
It's been a while. So yeah, I did everything, TV and commercials and all that kind of stuff. I was in some films that were even filmed there in Texas. And when I moved up to New York, I actually went to college out there and I did professional dance. So I did ballet and modern dance and all that kind of stuff. And when I was there in New York, that's when I got the audition for Shenmue, started doing voiceovers. And while I continued to live there in New York, I did voiceovers for some animation there as well. Made the decision finally to move here to LA, and I've done all kinds of things since, even producing and stuff like that. I work for Capitol Records, doing music videos and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm one of those guys that's done a lot in the entertainment industry. But specifically with voiceovers, yeah, the very first job I ever got was Shenmue. So it's
Awesome.
very special. Yeah, very, 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 very close to my heart. It's interesting. Like, I was just kind of like just brave enough to go for the audition because I kind of really didn't know what I was doing, and but I ended up getting it anyway. I think it's probably because of my martial arts experience as well as all the other experience that I had in entertainment. Like I said, doing TV and film and all that stuff, but also doing stage work. I did a lot of I studied Shakespeare when I was young, and everything from Shakespeare to musicals. You know what I mean? So done a variety there as well. So I think I just kind of put all of my creative effort into everything that I do, and that translated into voiceover as well.
Wow, awesome. So I remember I did an interview with you like back in 2017, and you told me that you went to Japan to work on Shenmue, right?
That's right. Yeah. So for Shenmue 1 and 2, actually went and lived and worked in Japan. So that was that that was great for a young man to, you know, I was only 20, 21 years old. So that was a fantastic opportunity for a young guy like myself to live and work in Japan.
So was that your first like travel overseas?
Well, I mean, no, well, yeah, actually it was.
And
Yeah, because I had done traveling all over the United States. Of course, I had been to Canada and Mexico, which is, you know, it's just our neighboring countries. But I think that is the first time I actually flew overseas. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's funny. I didn't think about it in that way, but yeah, you're right.
And how was that like? Did you have like any like shock of culture? Like when you just arrived in Japan, how did you feel like the difference like between the cultures? How was that
Sure.
for you?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I think I fit in pretty well in Japan. You know what I mean? Like I'm very like how to describe this without maybe offending my own countrymen. You know, everything in Japan is very orderly. You know, there's a lot to do with respect, and in the workplace and stuff like that, there's a hierarchy, and I think maybe I was familiar with that because not only was I familiar with Asian culture because of things that I had been interested in. You know, I myself was a big lover of video games and animation and all that kind of stuff, so I was already familiar with that. But my background that I had in martial arts since I was 7 years old, I was also familiar with that. So I had studied things like Taekwondo and karate. And back in the 80s and 90s, it was you know, a bit different. It was more disciplinary. It was more, you know, more strict. It was more almost militaristic. Not like it is today. It's very maybe kid friendly today, at least here in the United States. That it's you know what I mean? Like it's very I don't know, open and loose, and not the way that we. But so I was already familiar with that sort of mentality. So when I went there to Japan, I kind of just slipped into that. So I was always very happy and content there because I don't know, like I said, things always run efficiently. Things are always clean. The people that 99% of the people there that I had interacted with were very friendly. And what the culture shock that I got was actually coming back home. So when I came back home to New York, I don't know if people have, you know, a pretty good idea of what New York looks like, but you know, if you see a movie,
it's crazy,
New
right?
York is, it's not exaggerated. Like New York is like that. It's dirty. It's smelly. The people are, you know, sometimes, you know, angry and violent, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So when I came back home, that was my shock. First of all, just getting into the airport and realizing that the airport was coming from Japan, that looks like a future city, or I should say Tokyo, that looks like a future city. Going back to New York, it looks like Batman's Gotham. You know what I mean? It's like it's dirty, it's run down, it's old, it's the lights are flickering, the bathroom's got graffiti on it. You know what I mean? It's those kinds of things I kind of forgot about, but when I came back to New York, I was like, oh God, that's right. Oh, and then I came outside and the taxi cab driver was literally about to get into a fist fight with his customer, and I was like, oh man, I forgot about all this. I want to get back on the plane and go back to Japan.
Also, yeah. So
that was the culture shock that I got.
Yeah, I can imagine it. So when you went to work on Shenmue 1, like Shenmue was like the biggest project like made by Sega until that date. So how was to work in a project like this, for example? Was were they like very demanding? Did you work directly with Yu Suzuki? And how was this experience?
Yeah, you know, Yu Suzuki worked very closely with the team that I was working with, but so in other words, no, because Yu Suzuki wasn't a big English speaker, and in fact, to this day, he doesn't speak very much English, which is okay. You know, every time we communicate, we have to have a translator most of the time. But so they actually had a whole Japanese team that was very familiar with English. In fact, many of them studied abroad, and they had you know, a very strong grasp of the English language, and we could communicate very well. So there was a separate team that everybody in the English voiceover sides, you know, worked with. And then, yeah, so those team members would work with Yu Suzuki, and he always, you know, made all the decisions, and as far as any sort of retakes or anything like that, they had gone that route. So yeah, I worked with a team that was more familiar with English, and then I got to meet him a few times while I was there, and it you know, it's really great. I remember the first time they said, "Oh, Yu Suzuki has come into the building. Would you like to meet him?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. I would love to meet him." But of course, inside I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, I was ninja on the outside, but I was freaking out on the inside. You know, and
wow.
So yeah, they go and take me, and he's going through the building. I think he was he may have. I think at that point they were already doing, so I mean, yeah, so we were already doing English recording and all that stuff. So I think he was probably going to start working on that anyway, coming through the building. And yeah, met him, and it's great, you know, because you see a creator of games that you've played and stuff like that, games that you love, and he was so like, he was so just nice and friendly and warm, and he was thanking me for being there and being a part of the project and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I just thought, like, wow, he's really a great guy. He's really nice and kind and just kind of down to earth, you know. He's a really, and the more I get to know him, actually, the more I because it's funny, because a lot of people that surround him, they know how important he is, and there's always this sort of aura around him all the time, and all these people that, you know, think that he's so important. Well, I mean, he is important because of how he's changed the world of gaming and all that kind of stuff, but there is that aura around him all the time. But when you speak to him, he's just a great guy, and he's so, I think the words that I used before are just warm and friendly, you know, and you want to sit down and talk to him, especially about Shenmue, because it's like his love. He when he's talking about Shenmue, it's like he's talking about his passion, his great love in life, you know, like it's another child of his or something, you know, and he's proud of the project, and you just think like, oh yes, you know, tell me more. You know what I mean? You just get to sit down and have a great conversation with a really nice guy.